My young brothers and sisters, today I stand before you with one unshakable belief. The real strength of a nation does not lie in its wealth, nor in its resources. It lies in the spirit of its youth. The topic I bring to you is not just words, it is the very destiny that awaits you. Echoes of tomorrow, the unwritten power of youth. Remember this, the future is not written in stone. It is written by the courage, the resilience, and the vision of young people like you. Every great movement, every transformation in history has been carried on the shoulders of the youth. And today I say to you, you hold the pen of tomorrow in your hands. The question is, will you write history or will you let history pass you by? Youth are the architects of tomorrow's destiny. And this is not just a poetic line. It is a truth that history has proven again and again. Every society that has risen from despair, every nation that has stood tall against adversity, and every civilization that has left its mark on the world did so because its young people refused to remain silent or passive. When we say that youth are the architects of destiny, it means that the dreams, the energy, the ideals, and the sacrifices of young minds shape the blueprint of the future. The buildings of tomorrow, the systems of governance, the values that society will hold sacred, all of these are designed not by those who cling to the past, but by those who dare to imagine a new tomorrow. And it is the youth who have always possessed this courage to imagine, to dream, and to act when others choose to surrender. A young person holds within them a power that is unmatched, the power of time and the power of energy. At a stage in life when possibilities are limitless, youth carry the potential to transform entire nations. Think about it. Every major movement in history, whether it was for independence, for justice, or for revolution, was carried by young people who decided that waiting was no longer an option. The power of youth lies not in age, but in attitude. It is in the conviction that change is possible. It is in the refusal to accept that the present limitations define the future. This mindset, when combined with hard work and vision, creates destiny itself. When the youth recognize that they are the ones who will inherit the consequences of today's actions, they begin to act with greater urgency. They realize that if they do not build, they will be forced to live in the ruins left behind by inaction. This sense of responsibility is what separates societies that thrive from those that collapse. Nations that understood the value of their youth invested in them, empowered them, and gave them platforms to lead. And in return, those young people built legacies that outlived their own time. But where the energy of youth was wasted, where it was ignored or suppressed, the result was stagnation, frustration, and decay. Youth carry something that older generations often lose: belief. Belief that tomorrow can be better than today. Belief that the impossible can become possible. Belief that courage is stronger than fear. This belief is the foundation of every destiny yet to be written. It is what drives innovation, what sparks movements, what builds nations. But belief alone is not enough. It must be directed into action. It must be transformed into learning, into discipline, into leadership. An architect may dream of a building, but unless he picks up the tools and begins to build, his vision remains only a dream. Similarly, youth must understand that they are not only dreamers of destiny, but builders of it. There is also a unique responsibility on the shoulders of youth. Because they are the majority in many nations, their silence or inaction is not neutral. It is destructive. If they choose apathy, they surrender their future to the decisions of a few. But if they choose responsibility, they take ownership of their tomorrow. This is why youth cannot afford to waste their years in despair, distraction, or dependence. Every wasted day is a lost brick in the construction of the future. Every moment of hesitation allows others to decide the fate that should belong to them. The destiny of a nation does not wait for those who are unprepared. It is seized by those who are ready. To be the architects of tomorrow, young people must realize that their role is not passive. An architect does not wait for someone else to design the building. He draws the plan, he lays the foundation, and he envisions every detail. In the same way, youth must step forward and shape their societies. They must bring fresh ideas, challenge outdated systems, and lead with integrity. They must embody courage where there is fear and unity where there is division. This is not a privilege, it is a duty. Because if the architects of destiny do not rise to build, then others will construct a future without their vision, without their voice, and without their values. True change begins when young minds refuse to accept limitations, because every barrier that exists in the world today was first accepted as a reality by someone who did not dare to challenge it. The difference between a generation that transforms its future and one that repeats the failures of the past lies in the mindset of its youth. When young people are told that something cannot be done, that their dreams are unrealistic, that the path ahead is too dangerous or too uncertain, they stand at a crossroads. Either they submit to the weight of those words and live within the walls others have built for them, or they reject those limitations and step into the unknown with courage. History celebrates only those who chose the second path, those who believed that impossibility was merely an illusion created by fear and complacency. Limitations are often not physical but mental. A society may have poverty, corruption, or injustice. But what truly paralyzes it is when its youth begin to believe that nothing can change. Once a young mind internalizes this belief, its strength is wasted before it is even tested. But when that same mind decides that no obstacle is final, that no challenge is too great, it unleashes an unstoppable force. True change does not come from external circumstances improving on their own. It begins when individuals decide that they will not be prisoners of the present. It begins with the refusal to allow limitations to define what is possible. This refusal is what has driven every revolution of progress. When young inventors refused to believe that human beings could never fly, airplanes were created. When students refused to accept that colonial rule was permanent, nations gained independence. When youth refused to be silent under oppressive regimes, movements of justice shook the foundations of tyranny. Each of these examples proves a simple truth. Real change does not wait for permission. It begins the moment young people stop believing in the permanence of their obstacles. The chains of limitation are always broken first in the mind, and once they are broken there, the world has no choice but to follow. But rejecting limitations is not the same as blind rebellion. It is not about ignoring reality, but about confronting it with vision and persistence. To refuse limitations is to say, yes, the challenges exist, but they are not unchangeable. It is about understanding that circumstances may be tough, resources may be scarce, and resistance may be strong, but none of these can outweigh determination. A young person who understands this carries within them the seed of transformation. They no longer see problems as final walls, but as puzzles waiting to be solved. They no longer see failure as the end, but as a lesson to try again. This mindset is what transforms despair into hope and stagnation into progress. Every limitation placed upon the youth is also a test of their character. Society will always tell them to wait, to compromise, to lower their expectations. Fear will whisper that failure is inevitable, and comfort will tempt them to settle for less. But true change is born the moment young minds say no to these voices. It is the moment they decide to dream larger than the circumstances they were born into. It is when they choose not to inherit the excuses of those who came before them, but to create a new narrative. This act of refusal is not arrogance, it is courage. It is the courage to believe that life can be more than what it currently is, and that they themselves are capable of shaping that life. The story of every great change begins with a youth who decided not to accept the world as it was presented to them. Their defiance became the spark, their persistence became the fire, and their vision became the blueprint of a new era. That same fire exists in every young mind today, waiting to be ignited the moment they stop accepting limitations as permanent truths. The future does not belong to those who bow to boundaries. It belongs to those who push them, test them, and eventually replace them with new possibilities. Every great nation was built on the courage of its youth, because courage is the force that turns dreams into reality, and youth are the ones who carry that courage in its purest form. It is not the wealth of a nation, nor its resources that determine its destiny, but the bravery of its young generation to stand up when it is easier to sit down, to speak when it is safer to remain silent, and to act when fear tells them to wait. Nations that have risen from ruins, that have overcome invasions, that have transformed poverty into prosperity, all share one truth. Their youth chose courage over comfort, sacrifice over ease, and vision over doubt. Without courage, talent is wasted, dreams remain unfinished, and societies remain stuck in the shadows of mediocrity. But when courage takes root in the hearts of youth, no force in the world can prevent change from happening. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite fear. Young people have always been the ones willing to take that step because they carry within them the spirit of possibility. Where older generations may hesitate, youth dare to believe that the future can be reshaped. This is why, in moments of crisis, it is always the youth who become the backbone of resistance and renewal. When nations were enslaved, it was young men and women who chose to rise against powerful empires. When societies faced corruption and injustice, it was the youth who poured into the streets, demanding reform. Their courage was not just about personal bravery, but about believing in something larger than themselves. The idea that their sacrifice could give birth to a better tomorrow. The courage of youth does not only manifest in battlefields or revolutions. It also appears in the quieter, but equally powerful moments of building and creating. It takes courage for a young mind to step into the unknown world of science and discovery, challenging the limitations of knowledge. It takes courage to start with nothing and build businesses, institutions, and movements that shape entire societies. It takes courage to question outdated traditions and to propose new ways of thinking. Without this bravery, progress stalls and nations decline. But with it, ordinary individuals become the builders of extraordinary legacies. The courage of youth is therefore not just about facing enemies, it is about facing the unknown, the untested, and the seemingly impossible with faith and determination. What makes youth unique is that their courage is often free from the chains of cynicism. They have not yet been fully weighed down by the defeats and compromises that often silence older generations. Their hearts beat with a raw energy that refuses to accept failure as final. This freshness is what gives them the strength to keep pushing when others give up. Nations that recognize this and channel the courage of their youth into purposeful action become unstoppable. They do not waste this energy on distractions or despair, but direct it towards building systems institutions, and cultures that last for centuries. However, courage does not come without sacrifice. For youth to shape great nations, they must be willing to endure challenges that others avoid. The path of courage is often lonely, filled with resistance, and marked by trials. But history proves that these very sacrifices become the foundation upon which nations are built. The stories of every great country are written in the courage of its young people who chose to give more than they took, to serve more than they demanded, and to believe more than they doubted. Without their willingness to sacrifice, no nation could stand. With their courage, even nations facing destruction have found new life. Every great movement of history testifies to this truth. The youth who marched in protests, who stood against tyranny, who built institutions from scratch, who endured failures but kept rising again, they were not extraordinary people by birth. They were ordinary young individuals who decided to live with courage. Their bravery multiplied, their resolve spread, and soon entire nations moved because they had lit the flame. The courage of a few youth often inspires the courage of millions, and this collective strength becomes the bedrock upon which nations are built. The energy of youth is wasted without purpose and vision because raw strength, no matter how powerful, becomes destructive or meaningless if it is not directed towards something greater. Every young person is gifted with a unique period of life where energy, passion, and determination peak. It is a time when the body is strong, the mind is sharp, and the spirit is restless, craving to achieve something significant. But this energy, if not harnessed, fades away into distractions, trivial pursuits, or destructive habits. The tragedy is not that youth lack potential, but that so often their potential is scattered in 100 directions without ever building anything lasting. History is full of examples of nations rich in young populations yet poor in progress, not because their youth lacked energy, but because that energy was never guided by a vision. Purpose and vision act as the compass and the map for this energy. Purpose tells the youth why they are striving, while vision shows them where they are going. Without these two forces, energy is like a river that overflows its banks, wild, forceful, but ultimately damaging and unproductive. But when the same river is channeled, it generates power that lights up entire cities. In the same way, the restless energy of young people must be aligned with meaningful goals, otherwise it turns into frustration, rebellion without direction, or simply fades into wasted years. When a young person finds purpose, even ordinary actions become extraordinary. Studying is no longer just about passing exams. It becomes preparation for leadership and contribution. Work is no longer about survival. It becomes service and legacy. Struggles are no longer seen as punishment, They are embraced as steps on the path to a greater vision. It is this transformation of attitude that turns scattered energy into focused momentum. With purpose, youth discover resilience they never knew they had. With vision, they endure hardships that would otherwise break them. Without these, the same energy that could build nations becomes lost in distractions, in endless entertainment, in temporary escapes from reality. The modern world provides countless temptations to waste energy. Technology, social media, consumer culture, and shallow distractions constantly call the youth away from deeper goals. Many young people, full of potential, find themselves drained of energy by things that add no real value to their future. They mistake activity for productivity, business for progress, but the truth is that motion without direction is meaningless. Running without knowing where you are going only leads to exhaustion. Purpose and vision ensure that every step taken, no matter how small, moves closer to a meaningful destination. It is also true that not every youth discovers their purpose immediately, but the search for it must never be abandoned. Trying, failing, and experimenting are part of the process of shaping vision. What matters is the awareness that energy must be preserved and invested wisely, not carelessly thrown away. The years of youth are limited, and once gone, they cannot be reclaimed. Wasting them is like a farmer throwing away seeds during planting season. When the harvest comes, there will be nothing to reap. The energy of youth is the seed of tomorrow, and if it is not planted with purpose, the future will remain barren. Nations that have succeeded understood this principle. They invested in giving their young people a sense of purpose through education, values, and opportunities. They created a culture where the energy of youth was celebrated, but also guided toward constructive goals. That is why their youth built industries, advanced science, led social reform, and carried their nations to greatness. On the other hand, societies that failed to provide vision to their youth saw that same energy consumed by crime, addiction, despair, or migration. Energy is never neutral. If not directed to something higher, it will inevitably fall to something lower. A young person with energy but without purpose is like a warrior holding a sword but not knowing what to fight for. The weapon may be sharp, but without clarity, it can harm more than it helps. Purpose gives the youth their fight, and vision gives them their battlefield. When these are present, even limited resources cannot stop progress. But when they are absent, even abundant energy achieves nothing. Self-belief in youth is the first step to rewriting history, because no movement, no discovery, no transformation has ever begun without someone first believing in themselves. The most powerful resource a young person possesses is not money, not connections, and not even knowledge. It is the conviction that they are capable of achieving what others consider impossible. When this belief is present, it fuels persistence, it inspires courage, and it turns ordinary individuals into extraordinary leaders. When it is absent, even the most gifted youth become paralyzed, waiting for permission to act, doubting their potential, and living below their true capacity. The story of human progress is written by those who dared to believe they could make a difference when no one else believed in them. Self-belief acts as the foundation upon which all achievement is built. Without it, talents remain hidden, opportunities are ignored, and challenges become walls instead of stepping stones. A young person may have intelligence, creativity, or skill, but if they lack confidence, they will hesitate to use those gifts. On the other hand, a youth with belief in themselves may start with nothing, but their conviction pushes them to learn, to take risks, and to keep moving forward until they create something meaningful. Belief is the spark that ignites the fire of potential, and without it, even the most promising flame dies before it has a chance to burn. When a young person believes in themselves, they stop being controlled by fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of standing out. These are the chains that hold many people back from greatness. But self-belief cuts through those chains. It whispers to the young heart that failure is not the end, but a lesson, that criticism is not a verdict, but noise, and that standing out is not a weakness, but the beginning of leadership. With this mindset, youth begin to take actions that others avoid. They speak when others stay silent. They try when others retreat. They keep building when others have already given up. This determination, born of belief, is what changes the course of history. Self-belief is not arrogance. It is not the illusion that everything will be easy or that mistakes will not happen. It is the understanding that despite the challenges, despite the failures, despite the uncertainty, one still has the strength to rise and try again. It is humility combined with resilience. Arrogance says, "I cannot fail," while self-belief says, "Even if I fail, I will rise again until I succeed." This difference is crucial because arrogance destroys growth, but true belief fuels it. Youth who embrace this principle do not fear setbacks because they know their worth is not defined by a single moment of defeat. They see every fall as a step in the journey, every mistake as a lesson that brings them closer to mastery. When youth cultivate self-belief, they begin to shape their own identities instead of inheriting the limitations placed upon them by society. Many young people are told that they cannot achieve because of where they come from, because of their background, or because of their circumstances. But history has shown that those who believed in themselves often broke through these very barriers. They became leaders, inventors, reformers, and pioneers precisely because they refused to let others decide their worth. Their self-belief became contagious, inspiring others around them to also believe, creating a chain reaction that transformed entire communities. This is why belief in oneself is never a selfish act. It is an act of service because it shows others what is possible. Every young person must understand that the world has always been changed by individuals who refused to doubt themselves when others doubted them. It was young minds who believed they could free their nations from oppression, young thinkers who believed they could discover new horizons of knowledge, young leaders who believed they could unite divided societies. They were not extraordinary in the beginning. They became extraordinary because they chose to trust themselves. The world we live in today is built on their confidence, and the world of tomorrow will be shaped by those who carry the same belief today. The future belongs to those who dare to act today, because tomorrow is never shaped by hesitation or by waiting for the perfect moment. Every great achievement in history was the result of action taken in the present, often when conditions were uncertain, resources were scarce, and success seemed unlikely. The difference between those who lead and those who follow, those who create history and those who only read it, lies in the willingness to take bold steps when others are standing still. Youth, more than anyone else, stand at the intersection of time where their choices today determine the direction of their future. If they act with courage, discipline, and vision, they lay the foundation for progress. If they delay, postpone, or waste their time, they hand over their future to chance and to the decisions of others. Daring to act today means understanding that opportunities are fleeting. Time moves quickly, and every day that passes without action is a day that cannot be reclaimed. Many young people make the mistake of thinking they have endless time, that they can always start later, that they can always achieve tomorrow what they neglect today. But life does not reward those who wait endlessly. It rewards those who begin with what they have, even if their start is small and imperfect. Greatness rarely begins with perfect conditions. It begins with imperfect actions taken with belief and consistency. Those who act now set themselves apart, while those who wait often find that opportunities have passed them by. Action today also has a compounding effect. A small step taken now creates momentum that grows over time. Just as a seed planted today grows into a tree that provides shade and fruit in the future, so too do the efforts of youth, the planted in the present, shape the lives they will lead tomorrow. Every page of history is filled with individuals who began when no one else was ready. Their daring to act set off waves that changed entire nations. The courage to take the first step is what differentiates the builders of the future from the spectators of the future. To dare to act today requires overcoming the comfort of waiting. Many people convince themselves that the right time will come, that the right resources will appear, that the right circumstances will align. But the truth is that perfect moments never arrive. Circumstances are rarely ideal, and resources are never complete. If one waits for everything to be ready, they will spend their lives waiting. Youth who understand this begin with what they have, where they are, and take steps forward despite uncertainty. It is this decisiveness that allows them to grow, learn, and build while others remain trapped in the illusion of preparation. There is also a moral dimension to daring to act today. Inaction is not neutral, it is a decision in itself. When young people refuse to act, they silently allow injustice, corruption, and decay to continue unchallenged. By hesitating, they permit others to decide their fate. But when they choose action, even if their steps are small, they take ownership of their destiny. They become participants in shaping the world rather than passive observers. This sense of responsibility is what empowers societies to progress, because progress is never handed down, it is claimed by those who act. The future belongs to those who not only dream, but also move. Dreams without action remain illusions. Ideas without execution remain whispers. Potential without effort remains wasted. Youth who dare to act today transform their energy, their ideas, and their ambitions into reality. They inspire others around them, proving that change is possible not in some distant future, but in the decisions made here and now. The greatest tragedy for any young person is not to lack ability, but to waste their best years in hesitation, waiting for certainty instead of creating it. The greatest triumph is to act boldly, to plant seeds of change, and to trust that their efforts today will echo in the tomorrow they are building. My young brothers and sisters, as we come to the close of this journey together, I want you to understand one unshakable truth. The power to shape tomorrow is not hidden somewhere far away. It is alive within you right now. You are not just witnesses of history, you are its authors. You are not just the heirs of the past, you are the builders of the future. Every great nation that ever rose, every society that ever transformed, every movement that ever broke the chains of oppression did so because its youth refused to surrender, refused to wait, and refused to doubt their own strength. That same strength beats in your hearts today. The path ahead will not be easy. Challenges will come, failures will test you, and voices of doubt will try to convince you that you cannot make a difference. But remember this: no nation has ever achieved greatness without sacrifice, and no individual has ever written history without courage. The energy, vision, and resilience of youth are the most powerful forces in the world, stronger than wealth, stronger than fear, stronger even than the obstacles that stand in the way. If you believe in yourselves, if you give purpose to your energy, and if you dare to act now, there is no destiny beyond your reach. You hold in your hands the pen with which tomorrow will be written. Will you write a story of hesitation, wasted potential, and lost opportunities? Or will you write a story of courage, transformation, and triumph? The choice is yours. But know this: nations rise when their youth rise, and nations fall when their youth remains silent. The responsibility is heavy, but it is also an honor. It is a call to greatness that very few generations receive, and today it rests upon you. So step forward with faith. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Do not wait for someone else to lead. You are the leaders. You are the builders. You are the voice that echoes into tomorrow. Let your courage speak louder than fear. Let your vision shine brighter than doubt. And let your actions today become the foundation of a future worthy of your dreams. The future belongs to you. Claim it, build it, and live it.